Hello everybody in the YouTube world. I might be a little laggy today because there's a storm coming in. I wanted to sit down and talk to you all about losing someone special to you. In 2006, I graduated from high school. I moved off on my own and I was working a $20 an hour job doing landscaping for a few hotels, so I pretty much had it made after high school. I never really thought that I would need college because I was already on a very, very well successful path. I was working hours on top of hours on top of hours, and I lived about 20 minutes away from home, and everybody gets homesick, of course, but for some weird reason my mother was completely homesick that I wasn't there. I do have a brother and sister. They were both currently out of the household. I was the baby of the family, the last one there, and I set out on my journey after high school pretty much. Midsummer rolled around and my mom started getting on my case, asking me to move back home, you know, I'll support you, etc., etc. I finally gave into it and moved back home, and that first night she had me sleep in her bedroom, and when I woke up she cooked breakfast and all that kind of stuff. We hung out for a while. I went around putting in applications for work around home, and when I got back home my mother sat me down and told me that she had cancer. Of course, all the questions came up about how far it is, how far along is it, how long have you had it, how long have you been going to the doctors, how long have you kept it a secret from me, from us, from the family. And the way that she put it was everything was perfectly fine. So she insisted I did not get a job, so I didn't, and I took on the, I guess you could say, career of taking care of her. I made all the hospital calls, all the appointment calls, all the damages, pretty much anything that I wouldn't want her handling and being under stress about. I went with her to every doctor appointment, every chemo session, every radiation session, anything that you could possibly think of that cancer revolves around, I went to. Getting close to, I want to say January, February-ish, around that area, things went downhill. I pretty much spoke with a doctor because I was the only one that went with her for all these treatments. I spoke with the doctor and I actually asked, how far is it? And they told me that they're not exactly sure, that she was now getting radiation in her spine. And I found that kind of weird because my mom was telling me that she was getting radiation in her pelvic area because that's where the cancer originated from, and that's the only place that the cancer was in. So I waited a few days and I went back to my mom and I asked my mom, seriously, how bad is it? She still insisted that everything was okay, but you could tell it in her face that it really wasn't. I went about to the hospital with her constantly, still staying there for days on end, doing chemo after chemo after chemo, after radiation, eating the horrible hospital lunches and wearing pajamas and pretty much just cutting off a social life as it is. I didn't see anybody in my family, let alone a friend, during that time. I may have seen a couple of my friends that came to visit me and my mom in the hospital, but besides that, it was just me and my mom. Well, at that time, she had fallen, and because they did surgery for a hysterectomy, her stomach got ripped back open. Well, they had to do an open suture, I believe that's what it's called, on her stomach, where the incision was left open and just little lines were sutured together, holding her skin open, and it became 2 times a day that I would have to take the gauze all out and then put it back in and clean it with the saline solution, and 2 times a day I had to do this. Well, around March, it finally healed up enough to the point where it was just a regular bandage on her. And then around mid-March, I want to say, I blinked and she wound up in a nursing home. I went to go visit my mom at the nursing home. I don't even know, honestly, how she got there. It just kind of, seriously, a sneeze happened and she was there. When I went to go visit her in the nursing home, I asked her if she wanted me to stay, if she wanted me to do anything, and she told me to go ahead and start looking for a job and get back on my feet. And she also apologized for taking me away from what I had, because in this world and days anymore, coming out of high school, I doubt you're going to get a $20 an hour job with multiple hotels, landscaping. So, me still thinking that, you know, it's not as bad as it seems, she just needs a little bit more help than me, you know, she's doing fine. I seen nothing of it, said I love you, and left. March going on to April, I went back, obviously, quite a few times, and you could just see it in her face that she was ready. And nobody knew anything. And she finally did pass away in April of 2007. And everybody was kind of in shock because she kept it such a secret. I do really wish that she wouldn't have kept it a secret, because at least the family could have been a little bit more prepared. We could have treated her a little bit better than what we did. I mean, not saying anybody didn't treat her good. Everybody treated her wonderful, but I mean, we could have done more stuff to help. You know, we could have put in that little bit more 10% effort to help her feel more comfortable. We could have brought her home to pass away in a more comfortable state than being in a nursing home, because the cancer spread to 7 different places, and 2 of those places were major, which was her bones and her brain, and it actually went to her muscles as well. And it was a very devastating thing, especially after I sat there for about a year taking care of her. It pretty much made me completely exhausted. So instead of taking my mom's advice, I crash coursed life, I guess you can say. I stopped eating, I stopped my complete social life, I didn't go anywhere, I didn't see nobody in my family besides my father. I stayed in my little four-wall room, and that was about it. It led to some really bad things. I didn't eat, I barely slept. I want to say from the time my mom passed away until about summer of 2009, I lost multiple pounds. I probably went from around 350, which obviously isn't healthy, down to 165. And I wrongly took the opportunity of finding myself skinnier when I hit 165, and I joined my brother at the gym. I pretty much hit rock bottom then. I went on a complete 360 binge where I found a job, I worked, I came home, and whenever my brother did go and I had the opportunity to go, I was at the gym for as long as I could be. Excuse me. I was there, and around fall, I began to have passing out spells. I'd be standing up one moment, and then I'd pass out another moment. So I began to keep that hidden, and I stopped going to the gym with my brother. I still went to work. One day I quit work because I couldn't stand the BS anymore, and I left. I went home, and I stayed home. Once again, I stayed home. I lost more weight. I wanted to go to the store one day. I believe I was going to get a soda or something. Just something to have in my mouth. I put on my winter jacket and I walked outside, and one of my neighbors seen me for the first time. And I went over there and talked to her to let her know everything is okay and that I'm just, I'm just depressed. And after about 15 minutes of talking to her, I passed out, and that's when the secret was completely unleashed. She called my brother, and everything got uplifted. I mean, it went downhill, but it got uplifted too. I refused to go to the hospital. That was one thing. My brother took me back to his house, and he didn't talk to me much. He asked me what was going on, but I mainly talked to my sister-in-law just because I felt more comfortable with her. I don't know why. I think it was more of a lady thing. It's not that I'm not comfortable with my brother and that I won't tell him anything in the world, but just at that point in time I wanted to talk to her. And I got healthy again, pretty much. I didn't mean for this video to be so long, but it kind of turned out to be. But that's just kind of my little tidbit of what happens when you lose somebody close to you and you have no idea it's as serious as it is. So this is me, and I am real. It's not a lie. It happens. And I know there are people out there that can't talk about it and that aren't strong enough, but it's taken me from 2007 until 2011 to not cry about it. Even though I am crying on the inside every day. But this is me, Majestic Beauty. I hope this helps somebody. Signing off. Until the next video.